Hey guys, this is Brian, and we are on Module 3. I'm still working out the kinks, if there are kinks. I don't think they're kinks. I think I'm just working out the understanding of my microphone here. So hopefully this audio is coming at you very, very clearly. But Module 3 is finding happiness and success. And that's something we talked about in Module 2, that the source of all success is to live in bliss. That it can sound so flighty and so spiritualistically, mumbo jumbo. But the truth is that all creativity, all synchronicity, all success on all and every plane is based on our internal environment. And when that environment is set to pure bliss, happiness, tranquility, calm, that is the seed from which all successes grow, be them business, financial, weight management, weight loss, love, relationships. Everything grows from that place of pure potentiality. And that's really where we are today. So let's start talking about this whole reality of success and finding happy. Now, I just skipped a slide there. I apologize. Let's start here, the why factor. As we discussed in Module 2, every single goal and intention you could possibly have, when we break it down and start asking why, in every respect, we keep asking why, the common denominator we will come to eventually, through the continual effort of asking why to each and every answer we find, is that we want to do these things in order to be happy, be fulfilled, find peace. The base root of all human existence, happiness, peace, freedom, liberation. Now, if you happened to not find that when you did your work in Module 2 of asking why, bring it up on our Q&As. Bring it up on our Q&As or our live video calls so we can chat through it. Okay, that's the first step. And again, the root truth is that 100% of everything we want in life is related to this core essence of happiness, fulfillment, freedom, and liberation. And that makes the goal. Again, it doesn't matter what the goal is, relational, love, weight, fitness, health, financial, business, crafting our dream lives. It doesn't really matter what the goal we're talking about is. The goal itself is a superficial mask and a medium of desperation. But that's not at all, we shouldn't be indicting ourselves because of that and thinking we've done wrong by creating or crafting goals. We've been conditioned to do so. But it also leads to a very, very important point of what I call the modern day Zen. There is nothing wrong with wanting what you want. I hold no judgment over these things, and neither should you. If there's something very spiritualistic about your intentions and goals, be them, just that. Spirituality, an increased connection to your soul, or things that many people would inappropriately judge as superficial or not worthy, such as massive amounts of money, or to lose all kinds of weight so you can meet the man or woman of your dreams, or to walk on a fitness stage for a competition or engage in bodybuilding. Nothing should be deemed superficial and irrelevant. Want what we want. That's the beauty of the buffet of life. There should be no preconceived notions that any goal is refutable in any way. But what we have to understand is the source of how to obtain it. It doesn't render any goal, objective, or desire invalid, no matter what the spiritualistic wisdom may say, or that for some reason poverty is more enlightened than extreme wealth. I say that that's silly. I say we live in a world that is abundant, and we should desire whatever we truly desire without feeling badly or guilty about that. But just remember, the source of all success is based on creativity and happiness first. And that's the whole purpose of CTSM in these beginning few modules and beginning stages. But once we understand that all source success, all pure potentiality is based on happiness, bliss, freedom, liberation, peace, tranquility, we're left with a couple of questions. If your goals are our goals and measures of finding or being happy, so if our goals are measurements of finding or being happy, and from that state is where we can create our dreams most efficiently and easily, then what are the two questions we're left with? Number one is how to be happy for no reason, because that's the source. That's the source of all success. Again, irrespective of whatever your goal is, the source of being able to achieve, obtain, or attain it is based on this underlying bliss. And the second question is, do your goals really reflect your truth? Because as I'm going to show through parts of this module and next module, very often what I found in my life and a lot of people I've worked with is that the goals we create are the things I suppose the best way to phrase it, they're the things we think we're supposed to want. In our current culture, our current society, our current state of societal influence is the things we think we should want. But do they reflect your absolute truth or your truth? I'm going to talk about those today. So let's start with how to be happy. Number one, it's based on awareness. And this is a concept that you will come to accept and understand is the panacea. It is the all cure. Awareness of our story, our thoughts, our programming, our expectations, all these things. Awareness becomes the literal panacea to being able to achieve and obtain what it is we want. And we really begin to understand how to do that by isolating, identifying, and being able to understand when we sit in free nature versus bound nature. And we'll be talking a lot about that today. So awareness really is just learning to listen. I almost did a little oxymoronic slip there, listening to learn. No, it is learning to listen. What is the truth of our truth? Notice those things are in quotations. And we're going to talk about why they're in quotations in a few slides. But what is it that you truly want? What is it that you truly feel? What is it that you truly believe is truth? And awareness is a bridge to helping us understand all of those things. And any sort of goal-setting measure or intention crafting that really just kind of speaks to the outer layers of trying to obtain or achieve or attain what it is we want without first going a little deeper inside to understanding our truth and the truth of our truth. It's akin to putting a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound. It won't work. It just simply won't work. And we've gone through the stats and research on goal setting and New Year's resolutions, which is the mother of all goal setting, and how ineffective those things are. So this is a deeper layer that gets us to the root cause of why those things don't work. And we also, within awareness, we can talk about the plastic nature of the brain, the plasticity of the brain, which is very neuroscientific. Plastic nature or plasticity implies that something is malleable, it is adaptable, that when we provide it or present it with stimulus, it will change in an adaptation format. And that's exactly what the human brain is. We have the capacity to literally alter our brain through our entire lives. And that alteration or adaptation is chemical, it's physical, it's all these different things, but it's very real, it's very scientific, and it starts with our self-talk. So recall from Module 1 and Module 2, the whole paradigm of influence, perception, expectations, habit, and reality. Perception, again, we're starting with perception because we've gone through the influences. If you recall the whole nature of CTSM, the method of change the story is about first accepting that our lives are a story and not at all necessarily routed in absolute truth. And we've talked about that, and we've explained it through geographic and cultural influences, from early life, immediate circle influences, all the way up to even media and social influences. So we have these influences, but these influences create a perception, right? And our perception, perhaps as a good definition, is it's our belief system related to our absolute truth. Now, if you have struggled to obtain things in your life, to achieve things, if you've set lots of goals and resolutions and they never seem to work, especially exactly the way you want them to, but they tend to flub all the time, my suggestion, my want you to consider is where your perception is set, because it's a belief system that's related to your absolute truth. Now, culturally, geographically, socially, media, family, early life, recurring, all these influences can leave us with a perception that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm broken, I'm sick. The world's a very tough, dangerous, cold place. Now, Those are perceptions, and they live underneath our conscious brain, meaning we don't necessarily think that we think like this. But our absolute truth has been formed due to our influences. What we believe to be true has been formed due to our influences and the perceptions we've created from those influences. So what I'd ask you to do, and this is a very important thing, I'm going to make a strong point right now, because I've not listed this in this week's tasks or homework. So I want you to listen carefully and do this as well. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm broken. I'm sick. The world's a tough, dangerous, cold place. Think about that sort of language. And even though consciously you don't necessarily say those things to yourselves, do you have an overtone of a feeling of any of those being true in your life? And all I want you to do is note it. Take a little note in your dictate journal. Yes, I do feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not brave enough. I'm not courageous enough. I'm always sick. My body's always broken. The world's a very scary place. Just take a note about the perceptions that you might emotionally be experiencing right now, even for the very first time. Because again, our perceptions lie beneath our conscious thought. So we may not realize that we think like this. Okay? Now, perceptions, again, lead to expectations. This is also below the conscious line of thought. This is deep in our unconscious, our subconscious brain. And the expectations, I like to define them as, they are the internal projections to support our absolute truth. Perceptions are our belief systems related to our truth. Expectations are the internal projections that support our absolute truth. So if we look back at this slide, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough, I'm broken, I'm ill, the world's a dangerous place, and we now look at expectations, well, I'm fat. No one will ever love me. I can't become wealthy. I will never be healthy. I don't know how to create my dreams. Our perception of self, of the world, of our potential in the world, forms these expectations, and they sit underneath our conscious thoughts. They are drivers that sit underneath our conscious thoughts. Maybe you don't think overtly, consciously, that you're fat. Maybe you don't feel or think that no one will love you, or you can't become wealthy, or you'll never be healthy, or you don't know how to create your dreams. But I believe that if you stop to consider any of those things, you'd find some of them that apply to you, perhaps more than just one. Because even though the unconscious sits below our conscious thought, it does percolate. We do get moments of clarity, moments of intuitive spike, moments of story coming to the conscious surface. And they often leave us feeling not very good, emotionally and sometimes physically as well. So expectations are internal projections, essentially the things we say to ourselves, without even realizing we're saying them to ourselves. And they're based on our perceptions. Now that leads to our habits. And another word for habits is actions. And actions or habits are the external reflections that prove our absolute truth. And it's just such an amazing balancing act when you think about it all. This perception is built off of influence. And it forms expectation. And all three of those things lie below the conscious level of thinking. But they become externalized, manifested into physical form through our actions and our habits. So you perceive that you're not good enough. The expectation is that you're overweight or you're fat. The action or habit is that you have an unhealthy nutrition or exercise lifestyle. Amazing. I find it just amazing. Let's look again. The perception is you're not worthy enough. The expectation is that no one will love you. The resultant action or habit is an avoidance or an advancement behavior, sexually speaking, because we can run the gamut. Sometimes we become very prudish in our entire lives, and we avoid sexual energies. We avoid such sensual contact. We avoid a lot of those things, and then the other is true. Sometimes we seek them. We go out of our way to find them. We dress a certain way. We act a certain way. We create habits in a certain way, sexually speaking. because we are trying to find worth. Even though we don't believe anyone will ever love us, we try hard to find it. So again, the duality runs thick in all these things. Let's do the next one. The perceptions you're not smart enough. The expectation then unconsciously is that you can never become wealthy. The physicality of the manifestation, the action habit, is that you mismanage your money. You mismanage your money and then you're always in debt. And the debt, what does it do? It externalizes, it proves the truth. Look at all of those. Let's just go back one more time. You're not good enough. You're fat. The resultant action and habit is an unhealthy nutrition and exercise lifestyle. And look at the words. It proves. I wonder if I can do this really fast here. Meeting controls. No, I don't know how. I don't think I have the object. Oh, I do. Wait, highlighter. It proves. That's what habits, actions do. They prove. Right? And so now I have to get it off the highlighter. Hold on for one second. Oh, erase annotations. There we go. Oh, no, I didn't do it. My bad, guys. You're letting me go through my erase. No, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Well, poor you guys having to watch me. There we go. Having to watch me learn this technology on the fly. So our habits, our actions prove our absolute truth. Our absolute truth is that you're not smart enough insofar as your perception. That's your belief system. Your expectation supports this by your expectations, your internal language, saying you can't become wealthy enough. Again, you may not even know that internal language exists. And then the resultant action or habit is that you mismanage your money. So it proves what the unconscious is saying. That's what it does. Okay, let's do another one. I'm broken or ill. That's a perception. Based on your influences that you've had, you're broken or ill. Expectation becomes the internal language of you'll never be healthy. The resultant action habits is you're chronically seeking medical attention. You're always hurt. You're always sick. They say that the brain can create illness and disease. It can, and this is how. Let's do the last one. The perception is the world's a dangerous, cold, harsh place. That's your belief system related by your influences. The expectations then, the internal language you use, your OCL, is you don't know how to create your dreams because the world's a very scary place. The habits, actions then result are constant oppositional choices, meaning you might want this for your life, but you constantly choose that. You might want freedom and liberation to travel the world and create a career that is non-local. It doesn't require you being anywhere. So you can be in the Bahamas and Jamaica, wherever you want to be, evoking this career that's so fulfilling for you. And yet you settle for these jobs that keep you tied to one place and don't necessarily give you as much money as you think you're worth or want to be worth. So that's the cycle, and it happens nonstop. Our reality is created through these I told you so habits. Remember, habits and actions are external reflections that prove our absolute truth. Our reality is created through these I told you so. I'm proving it to you that this is exactly what it is you say you want, or exactly what your perceptions are, exactly what the expectations you hold are. Okay, so now why doesn't goal setting work? Well, number one, we're not relating it to the why of the want. As we've already discussed, everything you want from a goal objective perspective is based on happiness, freedom, liberation, and peace. So the goal setting measures we create are, I want to lose this many pounds of weight, I want to have this much money, I want to create this business and this style of way, or whatever it might be. But we've not peeled back the layer to get to the root cause of what it is, why we want that thing, and then therefore created the root, or we've connected ourselves to the source of why we wanted it, which is what we're doing today, finding happy. Instead, we create this SMART paradigm: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. These are these superficial, ostensible things that are meant to move us along this goal-setting paradigm. But the problem is, what we say we want is not what we really want. What we want is liberation, freedom, happiness. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing, though, is if you go back through everything I've talked about, you'll see that every objective and goal setting is based on honing in on the habits. Okay? So the habit or the action is what a goal-setting course or a goal-setting objective is meant to change. If I am overweight and want to lose weight, my goal then is based around this concept of exercise and proper nutrition, which is the habit. If I want to make more money, then the goal-setting objective is based on this system of, perhaps creating more time in my day so I can allocate it to researching the best ways to make money. And when I do that, I can then, invest this or create that. And that's all based on habits. Those are actionable steps that are in the physical world. But habits are not what created our lives. They are the reflection of our internal environment. They are the external extension of what we feel and think. Remember, habits and actions are reflections that prove our absolute truth. Okay? And so we need to go a layer deeper to change it from a different angle altogether so that our habits and our actions simply align with our new level of perception and expectation. And that is what changes passively. It changes our habits and actions literally all by itself. Now, if that sounds fluffy, let me give you some science that backs it up. It's really not called the 6-second marker, but I've called it that. And there's this neuroscience research that's been very new. In the last few years, it's come out. And I apologize if you hear a creaking chair. My chair has got a little bit of creak in it. But this 6-second marker is amazing because it adds such a scientific slant on this neuroscience of what we're talking about here today regarding habits versus expectations and perceptions. It simply says this, okay? And this is all done research-based via CAT scans and brain imaging. 6 seconds before you act in any way whatsoever, your brain knows what your action's about to be, okay? 6 seconds was the average time the human brain knew and had a full awareness of what the action was about to be 6 seconds prior to the action taking place. That's significant for a lot of reasons. First of all, once the conscious brain learns of the action you decided to take, it is nanoseconds, milliseconds of nanoseconds that fire these efferent, courses through our neurology that create create the movement, the action of our decision in physicality. It is quicker than the snap of the fingers. So 6 seconds in the world of neurology is a lifetime. Okay, that's the first thing. That delay is absolutely monumental. 6 seconds prior to actually making the action, our brains know what the action's about to be. Monumental. But it also shows something else. The conscious brain creates the reality through action. So once our conscious brain sees, hears, understands the action we want to take, its reaction is immediate and boom, we take action. We get out of a chair. We put that food in our mouth. Whatever it might be, it's immediate. So our conscious brain creates our reality, our life, through its action potential. But the unconscious mind creates reality through the impulse that causes the action. And that's the key. What is in the brain, physically speaking, what is in the brain a full 6 seconds prior to our conscious brain understanding the signal and then therefore acting on it or reacting to it is our unconscious stimulus. Brain scan imaging show our unconscious stimulus is crafting or has crafted a decision on what we're about to do 6 seconds before our conscious brain even knows about it. Which means the habits and actions are a byproduct of what our unconscious brain already knows. And what is driving the unconscious is our story, our expectations and perceptions. Think about that. The conscious brain is our habits or our actions. It's the actions taken in the physical world. The unconscious brain is the story, the motivator for the actions in the non-physical world. Think about that. Our brain shows image scanning of knowing specifically what exactly we're about to do 6 seconds before we do it. That is the unconscious brain at work. That is our story predicting exactly what we're going to do in a given situation. Our conscious brain then takes that information and simply does it, which means if we're going to try and change our lives by attacking just our habits and actions, we're going to lose. We are going to lose because our habits and actions are controlled by the conscious brain. But the catalyst and motivator for the conscious brain is the unconscious brain, and it's routing in the story of our perceptions and expectations. We attack that, we change the entire reality we have. Look at this inverted approach to the whole goal-setting process, because it always ends up this way. New Year's resolutions and goal-setting, boy, I'd be happy if I lost weight. I found true love. I had more money. I became healthy. I did the X of my dreams. But if we invert it, I would lose weight. I would find love. I would make more money. I would be healthy. I would live the X of my dreams if I was happy. And that's the fact. It's philosophically worthy of mention. It is spiritualistically something that has been handed down through the ages since the dawn of man. And now neuroscientifically it's showing that the expectations and perceptions we have, which is our story, are the motivators that create our actions. And if we were coming from a place of tranquility and peace and true happiness and freedom, then the actions and habits we took would be aligned with what we wanted. This is not fluffy. This is factual. The fact that science is caught up to eons of spiritual wisdom, I think, is just glorious. Our goals are external factors. Change the story method are the internal factors. Speaking of spiritualistic wisdom, here are two of my favorite passages in the laws of spirituality. What is within is without. It's been said for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. What is within is without. And that's the point. What is within our internal environment becomes what our external environment is. What is within becomes without. What is above, so is below. The unconscious is below the conscious mind. The conscious mind creates or enables the creation of our reality. So therefore, what is above is our reality. What is below is our unconscious mind and our story. Whatever is above, what we can see, feel, touch, what is our lives, so is below. That's the story. The story below creates the life above. I don't think things get passed on for 10,000s or thousands upon thousands of years unless there's modicums of truth to them in some capacity. The unseen part of goal setting is the perception and expectations. The seen part is the actions and habits. We don't want to attack the actions and habits because they are simply the byproduct. We want to get into the perceptions and expectations, the stuff we can't see. And that leads us into the conclusion of Module 3, which is understanding bound nature versus free nature. Now, bound nature is what I call it. I call it bound nature because it evokes a sense of binding or restriction in me. As we've said, the true why of whatever you want is based on happiness, freedom, and liberation. To not be or sit in that world of freedom and liberation and happiness is to be bound. Many spiritualistic sects call bound nature what I call it bound nature. They call it self-image. And so if you ever hear that language, it's the same thing, self-image. It's a whole part philosophy based on conditioning. Essentially, it says we were born in perfection. We were born in this blissful state of pure happiness, pure unaware bliss, pure freedom. But then through geographic, social, societal, early life, recurring Influence is we become part, meaning we lose contact, we lose connection with the whole of what we are, which is bliss, happiness, freedom, and liberation. And so that part becomes our self-image, the way we've learned to see ourselves, i.e., the perception we keep, and therefore the expectations we carry. That's the term self-image. To me, I resonate so strongly with the concept of bound nature. It's not my whole self. Parts of me or all of me are being restricted. It's not my full nature, my free nature, it's my bound nature. It is intensely emotional to be in bound nature. It's where unhealthy ego lives. Sometimes we're aloof. Sometimes we're narcissistic. Sometimes we require validation from external sources. Sometimes we require recognition from external sources. Sometimes we find ourselves very reactionary. We get angry. We get sad, emotional. We get depressed. We lose hope. All those are very intensely emotional things that are reactionary based. That's when we know we're living an unhealthy ego. When we grow aloof can come in many forms, but the way it's always presented itself, I've seen it manifested so many times, is we act like we don't care. I don't care. You go that way, I'll go this way. I don't care. But not in a healthy sense, where we're simply agreeing to separate energies because it's better for the greater good of both of us. Aloof is, you know what? Screw you. Fine. You go there, I'll go here. Narcissistic and vanity, validation from external sources, recognition from external sources, reactionary and emotional-filled reactions of immense sadness or tears or anger or depression. These are all measures of unhealthy ego involvement. Unhealthy ego involvement in your psyche, and that is a true tip that you are sitting in bound nature. It doesn't feel good. I mean viscerally. I mean, it can cause physical pain. It can cause mental strain and emotional pain, all of which can manifest physically. Bound nature means we're connected to what we see in ourselves. I want to remind you, what we see on the superficial level, the ostensible level, is nothing more than projections of our perception and our expectations. So if all we ever see is what we are not worthy of, that we are overweight and sad because of that, that we don't have the money we want, that we want to make more, those are projections of our perception and expectations, but we tend to connect to those when we're living in the bound nature of life. How about these things? You ever find yourself competitively thinking? You versus him, you versus her, you versus those people. Gosh, I'm already 40 and I don't have the money I thought I would have. You versus yourself. Why aren't I losing weight? That guy's losing weight. Comparative thinking. That's bound nature. It's based on unhealthy ego. Feelings of being superior to other people or another person, or inferior to other people or other persons. That's bound nature. That's unhealthy ego. The feelings of cynicism, of anger and fear, of jealousy and envy, those are all measures of unhealthy ego and bound nature. Overly analytical is another one. When we think too much, we over-assess and over-analyze what could happen if, what if this, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. So if I do this, these 75,000 different things could happen. So how do I know it's the right thing to do? When we get analytical, we're sitting in bound nature. We're sitting in that feeling of nothing is or ever will be okay. That's bound nature. Now contrast that with free nature, which is true self. It's where we were born. It's nothing we have to manufacture or create. As you're going to find through this entire CTSM program, I'm not fond of counting gratitudes, as they call it, or what's the other one? Positive affirmations. I'm not fond of those things for a lot of reasons, one of which is that they're very consciously minded as opposed to unconsciously sourced. But another one is that it's a manufacture It's a manufacturing of something that we're currently not. And rather than manufacturing something that we're currently not, why not just peel back the layers to what we already are? And we were born this way. We were born in bliss. We were born fully grateful. We were born full of affirmations that are positive and real and powerful. That's our true self. It's calm and it's peaceful. It's when we sit in healthy ego, which is where we have immense self-worth and immense self-love. And that is, if you're mistaking that as arrogant, hubris, or egotistical, you're mistaking it from a bound nature perspective. If you cannot love yourself with full immensity, how could you possibly share that love with anyone else? If you do not value yourself at the highest point and tip and apex possible, how could you possibly find worth in other people to that same level? Healthy ego is immensity of self-worth and self-love. Immense. And we're connected to the source of ourselves, connected to our omniscience, which is our all-knowledge. We're connected to our omnicompetence, or omnipotence, which is our complete ability to do anything. And of course, we're saturated in bliss. We know everything we need to know. We are able to do whatever is physically and physiologically able to do. We're able to do it. And we are bliss. If we peel back the layers, it's there. It feels lovely, but it feels quiet. Free nature is a quiet place. And I say that to you by giving these two different diagrams. We have negative Nancy and positive Patty. Negative Nancy is someone we're very used to. It's that person you know who's always negative. They're always complaining. They're always bitching about something. The world is falling. The sky is falling on them. Something is always wrong, and it's never not wrong. And they complain about it incessantly. Now, you know people like that. I know people like that. We all know people like that. Perhaps you're someone like that. I'm not poking fun of you in any way, but that certainly is evidence that you're a bound nature kind of person. You're comparative, you're superior, inferior, you're angry, you're fearful, you're jealous, you're analytical, nothing's going to be okay. That's negative Nancy. But the reason I say free nature feels quiet is because I want to introduce you to another character called positive Patty, who flies underneath the radar a lot in our society. It's the person who is over the top. Everything's always glorious in a way that almost feels like it's sticky. They're the kind of people who talk about, I've left my body and I'm having a spiritual experience where I'm looking down on the world and I see pure happiness and rainbows and puppies. You know people like that too. We all do. Well, I'm going to call them out for you. They're called positive Patty. And they're also based in bound nature because there's a lot of inauthenticity in them. It's a manufactured positivity. Free nature is very quiet. It's very neutral. It's very halcyon. It's very relaxed and assured and confident and composed. It is the knowledge that all is and will be well. And if we know and we have confidence and trust and faith that all is and will be well, we don't have to overstate it like a ninny, talking about out-of-body experiences and, crazy stuff. All is and will be well, always. It's one of my favorite things to remind myself of whenever I feel myself slipping into bound nature, because yes, I'm mortal like you, which means I have bound nature moments. I sit in unhealthy ego like everybody else on the planet. It's part of our psyche. It's not a bad thing. It's something to be aware of, which is why I started talking from the beginning of this call. And I want to remind you right now, how do we find that place of being happy for no reason? Awareness. Simply stated for this day, for Module 3, starting to understand when we are in bound nature versus free nature. When we feel that all is well and will be well versus when we feel that nothing is or will be okay. When we're reactive versus when we're peaceful. When we know versus when we question. When we're feeling comparative or superior or inferior versus when we know in assurance that we are omnipotent and omniscient and we have this omnicompetence. We're bliss. All we're looking to do to start with today is to start being aware of those two places. That's it for now. The revealing parts of free nature, bound nature, and how to understand them and find yourself more in one than the other, we're going to get to that. But right now, these concepts are likely new. So our panacea today is awareness. Where do you stand? Remember, the purpose of CTSM is to give you knowledge, understanding, and tools necessary to continue this journey. I hate programs and books and seminars that overpromise and underdeliver. I can't stand it. This is the one-stop shop. You'll never need to know anything else. And yet they give you just some basic information. You know, you need to bathe daily, right? If we don't bathe daily, we're pretty much have no friends. No one's going to like us because we're going to smell really bad and we're going to be dirty. CTSM is not a one-stop shop. We don't just hear about it one time and sit and, oh, good, now Brian told me what free nature versus bound nature is, so now I know that's cool. But it doesn't work like that. We're constantly working our journey. Do the work to make this work. I'm not convinced that enlightenment is possible in a single lifetime, to be honest. I'm not suggesting that if you do the work to make it work, you'll be that, one of those modern-day Zens of enlightened pure potentiality. And you might be. I don't know. I don't care. The point is that this is not well, now I know about free nature and bound nature, so I'm good to go. You're not good to go. We have to do the work to make it work. So what are the tasks this week? Well, continue with your dictate journal. And if you're not doing it, it's on you. I can only ask you to. I can't force you. But now here's where we're going to add a splice into the dictate journal, and it's a powerful one, okay? As you write your entries every single day, and I'm hoping that as we talked about in Module 2, you're writing more than one entry now. That daily you're just writing things down as they come to you, as you feel them. Here's what we're going to start doing as of today. Identify if you're in bound versus free nature with each entry. Read it. Read it. And then just identify it. Is it bound nature or is it free nature? And just refer to this again. Is it reactionary? Is it aloof? Are you being narcissistic? Are you searching for validation from somebody? Are you trying to get recognized by somebody? Are you being comparative or feeling superior or inferior? Are you angry? Are you being overly analytical and thinking too much? Or are you being peaceful? Are you noticing your self-worth and your self-love? Do you feel like you have all the knowledge you need? Do you feel happy for no reason? Start taking the notes. Isolate every single entry you make as either free or bound nature. That's where we're starting. Now here's the second part to that. If your entry is bound nature based, take a moment, breathe, and based on everything you see on this slide, healthy ego, immense self-worth, immense self-love, calm, peaceful, omniscient, omnipotent, omnicompetent, blissful, all is and will be well. Based on that stuff, if you've identified the entry as bound nature, contrast it. What do you think your free nature would say? Wildly important, my friends, wildly important. We start to not just dictate our story, but we start to identify it and transition it. Identify each journal entry as bound or free nature, and if it is bound, what do you suppose your free nature would say? Incredibly important first step along this paradigm of changing the story. Now here's the second part of today's homework, or this week's homework. Connect to physicality, the mind body of why, okay? Awareness is the panacea. And right now we're learning to be aware by understanding the definitions of free versus bound nature. We're going to identify when our thoughts are free or bound based. When we find that we're bound based, we're going to offer the idea of what our free nature would say. And that awareness is breathtaking in its power to get you exactly where you want to be. in life. But we're going to progress it starting now. And what we're going to add is an understanding of awareness physically. Bound nature does not feel good. Free nature does. So in time, what you're going to be able to do is assess through awareness if you're in bound nature or free nature based simply on how you feel. It's amazing. It's the most powerful thing. Holy smokes, I feel really good today. Holy smokes, I have this weird aching in my solar plexus. Worthy of examination, worthy of being aware of why that's true. So for today and this week only, draw awareness to how you feel every single day, preferably more than once. If I had my druthers, once in the morning when you first wake up, once in the midday, and once before you go to bed. In your same dictate journal, just keep a running tabulation of how you feel. What do you feel? Physically and emotionally. Physically, though, don't negate that. Physically, how do you feel? Emotionally, how do you feel? And for now, we're just going to start charting it. So we begin to draw awareness to the awareness of how we feel. And then we'll be able to see if we can identify that as bound or free nature. Powerful stuff. I started this Module 3 by talking about the second question, do your goals reflect your truth? Module 4, we start getting into that with the concept Sawabona. It's a breathtaking thing. Philosophically, the word itself, the concept, and how it's transitioned my life more dramatically than anything else I've ever experienced. So that's starting next week. I just wanted you to know I didn't forget about it. But remember, come back to this slide and re-listen to this part of the audio if you need to remember everything about this week's tasks. Incredibly important. With that, I will thank you so much for your time and energy, and I will look forward to seeing you on our Q&As and our live video calls this week. Take care.